Have you ever wondered why certain things creep you out? It's a question that lingers in the shadows of our minds, hiding behind the everyday and mundane. It's a question that pokes at our comfort zones, prodding us to question the familiar and the unknown alike. We're all drawn to the mysterious, the unexplained, the unsettling. But have you ever stopped to think why? What is it about the ambiguous that sends chills down our spines? Why does the unpredictable leave us feeling uneasy on edge? And what about the uncanny valley, that strange realm where things are almost but not quite human? These are the questions we'll be exploring today. We're setting off on a journey to the heart of the human psyche, reaching into the hidden corners of our minds to unearth the secrets of our fears. So buckle up. It's going to be a thrilling ride. Join us as we delve into the fascinating world of the human psyche to uncover the answers. Fear is an essential part of our survival. But what happens when it's triggered by seemingly harmless things? Let's dive into the psychology of fear, a fascinating yet complex topic. Fear, you see, is a primal instinct, a survival mechanism that has been deeply ingrained in us since the dawn of humanity. It's the body's response to potential danger, a warning system that prepares us to either confront the threat or flee from it, the famous fight or flight response. Our ancestors needed this fear response to survive in a world filled with predators and other dangers. The rustling of leaves could signal the approach of a predator, and the fear this triggered would prompt our ancestors to seek safety. This evolutionary origin of fear has ensured our survival as a species. Fast forward to the present day, and many of us no longer face the same life-threatening dangers. Yet the fear response has not disappeared. It's evolved and adapted, becoming more complex and at times being triggered by things that pose no actual threat to our survival. Take, for instance, a creepy doll or a clown. They're harmless, right? But they can trigger a fear response in some people, leading to feelings of unease or creepiness. This is because our brains are wired to recognize patterns, and when something deviates from what we consider normal, it can trigger a fear response. In the case of the creepy doll, it may be the unblinking eyes or the unnaturally wide smile that sets off alarm bells in our brain. It's not the doll itself that's scary, but the deviation from the norm that it represents. Similarly, a clown with its exaggerated features and unpredictable behavior can trigger a fear response. Again, it's not the clown that's inherently scary, but the ambiguity and unpredictability it represents. Fear, then, is not just about immediate, life-threatening danger. It's also about the unknown, the unpredictable, and the unfamiliar. And it's these aspects that can trigger feelings of creepiness, even when there's no actual threat present. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Let's explore further. Ever felt uneasy looking at a lifelike robot or a doll? This is the uncanny valley at work. The uncanny valley is a fascinating concept in robotics and animation, coined by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori in the early 70s. It refers to the unsettling feeling that people often experience when they see robots, dolls, or computer-generated characters that look almost but not quite human. Imagine a graph where the x-axis represents how human-like an object appears and the y-axis represents our emotional response to it. As an object becomes more human-like, our affinity towards it increases, but there's a catch. There's a point where this affinity drops dramatically, creating a dip or a valley. This is the uncanny valley. Think about a vintage porcelain doll or a CGI character in a movie that just doesn't feel quite right. They're close to being human, but there's something off that makes us uncomfortable. It's like our brain is telling us, hold on a minute, this isn't quite right. This reaction is believed to be a survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed to quickly identify members of their own species and distinguish them from others. Anything that looked almost human but was slightly off could be a potential threat. Hence, the feeling of unease and creepiness. This principle is not limited to just dolls and robots. It can also be observed in the world of animation. Ever wondered why some animated movies feel more real than others? It's because the creators have intentionally avoided the uncanny valley by making their characters less human-like and more cartoonish. Take a look at the lifelike CGI characters in movies. At times, they can be a bit unsettling, can't they? The more realistic the graphics, the more our brains struggle to reconcile the fact that these characters aren't real people. This struggle creates a sense of unease, making these characters seem creepy. So the closer something gets to looking human but not quite there, the creepier it appears. But there's more to it. What's common between a dark alley at night and a stranger staring at you? They're both unpredictable and ambiguous. Now let's delve into that unpredictability and ambiguity, the twin factors that often turn ordinary situations into spine-chilling experiences. Picture this. You're walking past an alley. It's the middle of the night and the only light is the faint glow of a street lamp at the end, casting long, ominous shadows. Suddenly, you hear a rustle. What was that? A cat? Or perhaps something more sinister? Your heart races, your palms sweat. The unknown, the unpredictable has made a mundane situation terrifying. This is not just a quirk of your personal fear response, it's a universal human trait. Our brains are wired to dislike uncertainty. We're creatures of habit, of routine. We like to know what's going to happen next. When we don't, our brain's fear circuitry kicks into high gear. This is a survival mechanism honed over millions of years of evolution. The unexpected could be a threat, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. So what happens when we encounter something that's not just unpredictable, but also ambiguous? Take, for instance, a stranger staring at you. You don't know why they're staring. Is it benign curiosity, or do they have malicious intent? The ambiguity of their intentions makes the situation all the more unsettling. Our brains do not like loose ends. When faced with ambiguity, they scramble to fill in the blanks. And here's the kicker. Often the stories we imagine are far more terrifying than reality. We conjure up worst-case scenarios, monsters lurking in the shadows, nefarious intentions behind a stranger's stare. This is why ambiguity and unpredictability are such effective ingredients in the recipe for creepiness. They exploit our brain's natural aversion to uncertainty and its tendency to fill in gaps with scary stories. So the less we know about a situation or an object, the more our imagination fills in the gaps, often with creepy outcomes. So why is it that what creeps one person out might not bother another at all? It's a question that might have tickled your curiosity, and we're here to explore it. The concept of creepiness is highly subjective. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of emotion. What might give you goosebumps could be a walk in the park for someone else. And that's because creepiness is influenced by a myriad of factors, including personal experiences, cultural background, and individual differences. Let's take personal experiences, for instance. If you've had a traumatic encounter with spiders as a child, the sight of a spider might send shivers down your spine. But for someone who's grown up studying them, spiders might be a source of fascination, not fear. Culture also plays a significant role. Think about it. We're often conditioned by our cultural environment to perceive certain things as creepy. A classic example is the differing views on death and the supernatural between Western and Eastern cultures. While the former often associates it with fear and creepiness, the latter might see it as a natural part of life or even celebrate it. Individual differences come into play as well. Some people are just more prone to feel creeped out than others. It can be linked to personality traits like neuroticism and openness to experience. Studies even suggest that individuals with high levels of empathy tend to find situations more creepy as they're more adept at picking up subtle emotional cues. So, you see, our perception of creepiness is as diverse as we are. It's shaped by our past, our culture, our personality, and so much more. It's a fascinating dance between the known and the unknown, the familiar and the unfamiliar. A dance that can evoke a range of responses, from intrigue to discomfort. Thus, what's creepy for one might be merely intriguing for another. It all depends on how our brains interpret the unknown. And that, my friends, is the subjective nature of creepiness. So we've taken a fascinating journey into the world of the creepy, haven't we? We've delved into the psychology of fear, understanding how our brains react when confronted with the unknown and the unsettling. We've navigated the uncanny valley, where things eerily similar to us but not quite human send shivers down our spine. We've faced ambiguity and unpredictability, two elements that often make situations and things feel creepy. And we've acknowledged that what's creepy for one person might not be for another, highlighting the subjectivity of this intriguing phenomenon. Throughout this journey, one thing has been clear. Our brains are designed to protect us. Sometimes this means being creeped out, sometimes it means having an adrenaline rush. But in the grand scheme of things, it's all about survival, about keeping us safe from potential harm. The next time you feel the hairs on your neck stand up, remember, it's just your brain doing its job. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world within your mind.